and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Today I'm going to be doing a little self-contained project. This is something a little bit different, but it's still miniature, and yeah, let's get on with it. Today I'm going to be renovating this little house. Now this little house is just a wooden house that, if you can see that, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell because it's quite bright in here today. It lights up. You might be able to see, you might not. Now this is a piece that originally came from Aldi. There's a little label on the bottom that says Aldi, but I picked it up from a charity shop. When I got it, I was actually looking for something to make a miniature scene in, and I spotted this and it was only £1, and I thought I could probably do something with that, so I brought it home. My first thought was to do something wintry with it, because I was on a bit of a winter kick at the time. But there's not much I can do with the house to make it wintry, because it's kind of a bit boring and I'd need more outside space. I think I could put snow on the roof, but it wouldn't be that interesting. So I think I'm going to give making this over a bit differently a go. Now obviously it doesn't look much like a real house because there's no door, lots of windows but no doors, and then there's weird things like this little window in there, and then that bit's the way it is. So it's going to take a little bit of thought and do something with it. I have a few ideas, but I'm not sure exactly what yet. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a good clean because it is dirty. Now I've started wiping over on the back there, which is why that looks a bit damp, because I used a baby wipe just to see if it would actually fetch any of the dust off. I want to remove the loose dust in the first place, because if I'm going to paint it or stick anything to it, I need that removed, because it's going to interfere with my glue, paint, whatever. So I'm going to get my baby wipes and I'm going to give it a good clean, and I'll come back and we can start doing something with it. I have given the house a good wipe over and I've removed the lights. Now the light unit, which is just a battery pack with the switch, which is a timer switch, so it will stay on for presumably around about 6 hours and then go off and come on at the same time every day. It's just got 2 little LED bulbs on there. Now it was a real game to get that open, and it may even be the original batteries that are in there. It's one of those that slides and everything, and I had a right game. Got it open, checked, they do look okay. I will probably open it again and change the batteries before I put it back together, so I get maximum battery life out of the piece. So I'm going to put that aside because I don't need it. I've took it out so that if I paint anything, I'm not going to get paint all over the lights. Now, as I say, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, it was probably a Christmas decoration originally. I can't think of any other reason why you'd have a light up house. I'll do it winter, but I soon went off that idea, which is why it sat for a while on the shelf. But what I'm actually thinking is, growing up, there was a sort of I'm not going to call it a theme park because there weren't any rides, although I believe they've got some rides there these days for little kids. A sort of place for you to take children that was fairy tale and nursery rhyme themed. And they had little cottages in natural woodland that were based upon fairy tales and nursery rhymes. You had the shoe house, well, it was a boot house, which was the old woman who lived in a shoe. There was Snow White's cottage. And the one that I'm actually thinking about was Hansel and Gretal, was the witch's house, the sweet house. Now it's quite often described as a gingerbread house, but this wasn't. Not when I was a child, and having looked it up on the internet, it's not really gingerbread. It looks more like it's been covered in icing and then had sweets stuck in it, rather than being, gingerbread brown. So I'm thinking about turning it into some kind of sweet candy kind of a property. And what I am thinking of doing is actually losing some of the windows, because you don't need them all. Oh, I see, they're out of line, that's what the problem is. Okay. Now, I'm guessing that this is supposed to be the front because it's got the gables, which is great. But the back is the same apart. So I'm going to make that a bit different. I'm going to give it a door. I'm going to block in these two bits on the side because they don't need to be there like that. They can just be blocked in. Yeah, so I'm going to get some material to do that. I am just going to use part of a cereal box, my usual material. And I think I'm going to start off by cutting some pieces to cover these sides and sticking those into place. And then I'm going to look at what I can do on the front. As the first stage, I have fitted pieces of cereal box to the two sides and also to the back. Now I'm going to focus my attention on the front, obviously, and so I just decided that I would blank the back. I will do something with the back. I will probably put in some fake windows, but I want the light to be focused coming out the front rather than the back, because it's not a piece you're going to be looking at all the way around. So I've done that, and it works quite well. I have also, and this is a reason for the smears of paint on the front, given the inside a rough coat of black paint. This is just to make it less obvious what's inside once I put the lights in and on. I'm going to do some more work to these windows, but more about that in a little while. But at the moment, if I put the lights on, you can see that there's windows at the back and they're blocked up. This is going to be less obvious once I'm done, but I just wanted to improve the situation inside. So quick coat of black paint, and we're ready to work on the front. With a little update on the front, I have covered up the row of holes that were across the middle of the front. This is because I obviously want the light to look like it's coming out of windows, and this then gives me some space for some more decorative features. I've got an idea what I want to do across there, which is great. I've also took out the window bars on the two large front windows. I've not done it brilliantly because it's not going to be visible, but it's just so that I get maximum light through those gaps, because I have made, or I'm starting to make, little bow windows that are going to stick out. I obviously have only done the front panel. I was going to put windows in the side, as you can see on this one. I've actually marked them up, but I decided that that was going to be a bit excessive. These are going to be glazed with some coloured cellophane, as are all of the windows once I'm a bit further along. My next step is going to be to put a bottom in there, and then I need to figure out how I'm going to do the roof. I want to give it a little bit of a shape. I don't think I want a gable as there are at the top. I think I just want a sort of roof that slopes from the front onto the window, and then some little side bits will need to be fitted in. But these need to be put together and painted so I can put the cellophane in, and then stuck into place before I can finish off the rest of the front. So that's my next bit, and I'm going to go back to working with incredibly small pieces. I have given most of the property a base coat of white paint. I was doing the new windows and decided that I'd be as well to get the base coat on all of it. I haven't done the roof yet. I will be, and I haven't finished doing the chimneys. I did the darker bits on the edges where it was obviously laser cut, but I ran out of paint on my palette and time. So I will be painting that shortly, and fitting the windows, which are almost done. And then we can get to the interesting bits, which is going to be the actual finish to it. I'm going with a paint called Vanilla Bean, which is a yellowy creamy colour, which is one that I do rather like, and I think it'll make a good background for my sweeties, which I've got lots of ideas for, so get moving. The new windows are on, although I've still got to do the roofs, and I've painted around the window frames. That is because I have actually fitted my coloured cellophane into the window apertures. Now, I know you can buy houses of a similar structure to this as kits. If you decide to do something like this and you can only find a kit, please stick the cellophane to the windows before you put it together. That's all I'm going to say. It was a real game getting my fingers in there. These are the colours that I've used. Each window or group of windows has got a different colour, and these just came off a famous brand of sweets, chocolates, candy that are mostly eaten in the Christmas season in the UK. And they've started changing the wrappers so you don't get the cellophane anymore. So I'm going to be hoarding that I've got. I didn't bother straightening it out too much, flattening it out too much, because it's not going to be that visible at this scale. But it does give a really nice effect when it glows. However, I can't show you that at the moment because it's far too light. It's a lovely bright day today, and I'm having real difficulty being able to see it myself. So I'm going to go back to my painting, and then when I do come back, it will be to do the more fun decorating, promise. It has taken me a long time, a lot longer than I planned, but I've got a roof. Now, I want the roof to look like it's made of chocolate chip cookies, and I've got the sort of cookies on, but I'm having to add the chocolate chips. I'm just doing that with a pencil. I did try with a marker, and that's why these bits are darker brown, because the ink went and splodged. Actually went splodge there, but I haven't tidied that side up yet. I made the base cookies using some craft cardstock, and the individual pieces were punched out using 2 different sizes of hole punch. The bigger ones were used for the main roof, and then this little one I used for the little roofs above my new bowed windows. I know they're not technically a bow window because they're not rounded, but they're not a bay window because they don't come down to the ground. So my sticky out windows, which I think give the front of the cottage a little something extra. So I'm now going to get back to the work with the pencil crayon, and then I'm going to start on the actual sweeties to go on the front to make it into a proper candy cottage. I have made a chunk of progress on the decorations. Now, a lot of the house is going to be covered with little bits, so it looks like it's covered in sprinkles. I actually wanted it to look like a cake house with sweets on it rather than a gingerbread house, and that is going to be the main bit of my decorations. But that said, I've been working on some of the little bits. Now, the one thing I've done is on this strip that I added to cover up those weird central windows, I've used some enamel dots, which were a big deal in scrapbooking quite a few years ago, and I've got quite a few lying about from my days scrapbooking. And I've stuck those on, and then I've covered them with some sprinkled sugar glitter glue, which is just starting to dry. It's not dry yet, but it's going to give it a look, so they'll look almost like those sugar covered gummies that you get. And then to cover these other bits that I put in place, I have put in some licorice all sorts. Now, I've made 2 kinds. One kind which I've put under the one window and in between the other sort are the sort of sandwich kind, and I've got another couple here which are going to go on top of the chimneys, and they're simply made by stacking up white and black cardstock in varying quantities. Not overly complicated, and all I did is I made actually 4 the same size, which is a 1/4 inch square, and then I have cut 2 of them up to make the smaller pieces. The round ones are done in the same way. They're done with yellow cardstock and black cardstock. And what I actually did is I cut out the smaller hole out of the yellow card and then cut around it, and then I filled it in with the black. And those are what are known as coconut wheels, which are licorice with coconut around the outside. These are sweets that might not be known in other parts of the world, but they mean something here. And the building that sort of inspired this had licorice all sorts painted on it, so I wanted to include them somewhere along the line. I've also added some black paint to the chimney. I'm going to make that look like it's made of licorice. I know it's a bit of a odd one, but it will work. And I'm going to put some glossy accents on that shortly, just to give it a sheen, because I want it to look like licorice, which does actually have a bit of a sheen. Glossy accents. Mod Podge, what am I doing? Probably going to use the gloss one because I do want it to shine a little bit. I want it to look different to everything else. And then obviously I'm going to stick these onto the top like so. And I've put a coat of paint on my front door, which is supposed to look almost like a bar of chocolate. I know a chocolate door wouldn't be particularly useful, but it's pretend, so who cares? And then it's going to be on to maybe the sides, doing something on these two side panels that I've put in. Not sure what, because I do want to put some bushes and things down here. But I may make it look like there's lollipops on the side. Not sure yet. And of course, I've got all my edging to do. Now, I've got somewhere some red and white baker's twine, and I can't find it. Obviously I can't find it because I want it, but what I have found is some red, white and green that came with my 1/48 scale advent calendar, and I'm going to use this to trim my edges so it looks like sticks of candy. It's fed round and glued in place. I think it'll work quite well, and it's going to add another layer of depth to it. So time to get back to it and to more making and sticking, and I'll see you a bit later. The sprinkles are on. They're not all dry yet because I have literally just finished them, but they're on. And if I turn the house up, you can see at the top half is covered in sprinkles. The glue has dried on the gumdrops, and I've started adding, as I went around, some of the thread to trim off the corners and edges. I've still got to do all around the top, but I just wanted to give you a bit of an update before I got too far. My lollipops are in place on both sides, and the back is still a bit wet. You can still see the glue in places because I did daub it on rather thick. Now, I do rather like how that is looking. I like the texture that these give. These are the leftover dots from diamond painting, and it is simply because they're left over that's defined the colour scheme. No other reason. I quite like it. It sort of works. And yeah, I'm actually pretty pleased with how this is coming along. Now, I want to add some detail to the base. That is going to be my next stop. And that is where I'm going to bring in a little bit of darkness to it. It is rather cutesy for me, but I do want to add a little bit of darkness when I put the base materials down, which, as I say, is my next spot. And I also want to do something with the bottom of here. I decided against putting fake windows in the back. I thought, I've got windows in the front, I've got windows in the sides, I can leave it without windows in the back. It'll work. And it's going to sit on a shelf anyway at some point, once it's done. And to be fair, at this stage, after over a week and a half of working on this project, I will be glad when it can sit on a shelf and just look pretty. So I'm off to finish off my trimming around the roof and to make a start on the base. The basic landscaping is now done. And by basic landscaping, I mean the ground cover. I have used a combination of a sandy material, which makes my front path, my green grass flocking, and then at the back I've used tea. These are dried tea leaves for soil. This was applied actually last night. It was applied with a good coating of PVA glue on the bottom and then the material sprinkled on top. I let it dry overnight, and I have now just added a combination of water and PVA glue. You can spray it on, in which case you need to add a drop of liquid detergent to make it spray better and make it mix better. But I just mix it up and dab it on with a brush. And this will ensure that hopefully everything that's going to come off has come off. I've given it a good shake before I did this, and it should keep it all in place. So I'm going to leave this to dry a while. It's drying off quite nicely. I haven't actually done it more than 10 minutes ago, and I can already see that it's drying, which is great. The water evaporates quite quickly, and you don't need a thick coat of glue to keep this in place. You can buy proper fixative sprays, but this is how the railway people do it, apparently. And then I will be adding some more bits of landscaping and my spooky touch, which is going at the back of the property. Also to the back of the property, I have actually added a back door. And if I turn it round, and I've added a little porch roof over the top, which has been made to look like another licorice all sort. Done in the same way as the previous ones, with layers of cardstock. Nothing complicated, but I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to work on the little bits that I'm going to add and pull it all together. I am about done. I have added some moss. I've had a little bit of this moss that's been coloured purple just on the front, just because, well, I could. And then I've added some more of the moss either side to make it look like there were bushes there. If we go round to the rear, it's a different story. You can see that I've got some more stuff, so it looks like the forest is trying to overtake the cottage, maybe. There's also a couple of pots, a couple of cauldrons. Now, they are actually a wooden bead cut in half, well, cut into two, and they've then been painted, and the tops have been painted red, and the white bits will go clear. That's the glue that hasn't quite dried. And in there I have put pieces of quite heavy gauge wire, which have been painted a sort of bone colour. And these pieces of cocktail stick have been painted a bone colour as well, just to make it look like the witch is throwing the remains of her victims out of the back. And the same goes for the skull. Now, I know that skull is far too big for the scale, but it's just that little sort of dark touch that I like adding to my projects. And yeah, with that it's sort of done. I have refitted the light pack in the bottom, and although I can't show you because it's actually far too light in here, it does light up quite nicely. And when I've put it into a darker space, you get the effect of the lights through the cellophane that I added, which is what I wanted. And yeah, quite pleased with it. My little Hansel and Gretal witch's cottage has come out as I envisioned it would. It's not perfect. I can already see ways I would improve on it if I was to do it again, but you know what? I did it, and that's the main thing. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like, comment and subscribe. Maybe even ring the notification bell to let you know when I put a video up. I put a video up most weeks. I didn't last week because this one took far too long to make. It's taken the best part of 2 weeks' work to get it done. But sometimes projects and real life get in the way. So Although I try and upload every Friday, sometimes it just doesn't happen. But until next time, bye.